Okay, so this is a Black Banner campaign, and it's using the High Medieval variant of the rules. The different variants have got slightly different skills and they've got different equipment. For example, the Neolithic rules don't have metal stuff. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm just going to create a player character. So let's click on that now. Let's assume we're starting at level 0. Um, so what I can do as a kind of shortcut, I can just choose from all these different kind of archetypes. So let's say I'm going to choose an archer, and I'm not going to like put in my own numbers. I'll just go 46 minus lowest die for my scores. So I just click that, and cool, we've got this archer here. We need a name, so let's call him Archer level 0. And so what Black Cat's done here, the first thing it's done, it's rolled some scores and it's arranged them in an appropriate order for an archer. So for example, he's got high discipline, very high health, pretty good at everything. Geniality is low, intelligence is like not really such a priority. The next thing it's done, it's chosen a whole lot of skills appropriate to an archer. So in this case, he's got 72 slots and they've been allocated um, to these different categories. So it looks like we've got 16 slots given over to campaigning skills, 2 slots to deception skills, and 18 slots, which is the maximum, to martial skills. And it's the maximum because we can't have more than a quarter of the slots to any one category. So martial being a category. The subcategories like armor use, attack styles, they don't really matter. They're really just for organizing. And we've also got a whole lot of other skills for other slots devoted to miscellaneous and vocational and language skills. And there's a minimum. So there's a minimum of 10 slots required for a language. Okay, now the third thing Black Cat's done here, it's just created some default equipment. And for this guy, he's got gambeson, which is basically just thick padded clothing to protect his body, and he's got leather shoes and a leather skull cap. He's got a bow and a couple of daggers and a quiver full of arrows, and we can go and change, like we can add stuff. So let's just add a sword, say. So let's just add an arming sword. So we can change stuff, we can delete stuff, we can, like we can add another arrow, whatever. Okay, now the other thing we can do is this skill selection is just the default, so we can go and change that. We can go and say, let's have a look at the martial skills. So armor use, there are 3 slots allocated to this for a 0 level character. 72 slots sounds like a lot, but it's nowhere near enough. It's nowhere near as many as you want. So let's take one off heavy armor because he's only got light armor. Actually, let's take off medium armor as well. And what we could do is we could bump up light armor to the next level, which is proficient. So it was novice and now it's proficient. Or we could go and bump up one of these other things. So let's have a look at fighting instincts. Combat breathing is really important. Combat defense is really important. So we could put up one of these ones, say. Okay, and so we've made our changes, and and yeah, we've got a character already. So the only thing would be to allocate to the player and join the party. And then if I save that, I've got my player character up and running. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I want to create a character without using an archetype. So I'm going to just go roll character. I'm fine with doing this again, just letting Black Cat roll some scores. But this time I'm just going to leave this as none. Okay, so I'm going to click, and I want this character to be maybe some general kind of warrior. So let's look at the scores. For my warrior, I probably want. I'm fine with most of this. I probably want a much higher fitness. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to swap intelligence and fitness, and I'm just going to drag them with pressing mouse down. Now I can also type in different numbers here if I want. Um, okay, so now I'm going to make this a player character, so I'll assign that to me. I'm going to select some skills. Now I've got 72 slots. A minimum of 10 slots have to go into my native language. So I'll leave that bit there. I'm going to click assign, and let's look at these categories. So we've got campaigning, deception, martial. No more than half of my 72 slots can go into these three. No more than a quarter can go into any particular one. Now, with Black Dragon rules, which includes magic, the magic category is also one of these. So no more than half of the slots can go into martial, deception, campaigning, and magic. So that means at least half of the slots have to go into miscellaneous, vocational, and languages. And again, no more than a quarter can go into any particular category. So what I want to do for kind of adventurer character, I want to allocate the maximum possible to martial. Now, a quarter of 72 is 18, so I can put 18 into these guys. So let's just have a look at what we've got. Armor use. Now, you can use any armor you like, but you get penalties. So if I've got light armor, the penalties are smaller than for heavy armor. Additionally, I can't I can't learn to use heavy armor without first learning to use light armor. So for a zero level character, using heavy armor is um, it's it's not unrealistic as so much as it's not ideal. The penalties are going to be pretty high. So for this particular character, I want to just use light armor. So I'm going to go novice. I'm going to take novice and light armor. Now I can't go higher than skilled even if I wanted to because it's getting too far ahead of medium armor, and that's already taking 6 slots to get to skilled. I don't want to spend 6 slots. I'll just go proficient. Um, Attack styles. This is pretty important. Um, there are these different options. So the most important one for a zero level character is going to be opportunity attacker. So I'm going to put a slot on that, at least one. Actually, precision attacker is kind of interesting as well. That lets me aim for a particular area of the body, for example, the head, when I'm making an attack. Opportunity attacker um, lets me that's just um, try to hit the enemy anywhere possible, and the chance of success is going to be higher than with a precision attack. Another interesting one is interceptor, so I'll put a slot on that as well. That means if I've got a longer weapon, I can intercept the attack of an enemy with a shorter weapon, and I can get my attack in first, so that's kind of useful. Um, Charger, I'll put a slot on that. Charger lets me um, lets me move at maximum movement and make an attack in the same turn. The penalty for that is there's quite a high breathlessness penalty. You're going to get breathless pretty quickly if you try moves like that. So that's cost me 4 slots. I've used 3 there, 4 there, so I'm getting through my 18 slots pretty quickly. Defense styles. Um, Again, these are different things you can do in response to being attacked. Blocker is pretty self-explanatory. That means get your shield or potentially a weapon or something in the way. Um, Now, if it's a really heavy attack, it's still going to potentially hurt you through your shield. It might even destroy your shield. Deflector is even better. That kind of like deflects the attack aside so it does no damage, but it's harder to pull off than block. Evader is basically step backwards, retreat out of the way of the blow. Um, Now, Evader doesn't work against a ranged attack. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put one slot on there and one on there. Now, taking novice level, it's only one slot, but it allows me to actually do it. If I'm unskilled, like I'm going to leave blocker unskilled, I can't even try to do it. Um, but for a zero level character, you can't expect to do everything straight away. Um, you've got to kind of pick your priorities. So fighting instincts, these are now actually, uh, sorry, yep, okay, fighting instincts. These are these are very important. Combat reflexes helps you with initiative, so that's kind of nice. Combat defense makes you harder to hit, so that's a pretty high priority. Um, Combat breathing, that's it helps you breathe more efficiently in combat, so you're going to take longer to get breathless, and you'll also recover your breath quicker. So I'd say combat breathing and combat defense are both very important. So uh, let's put them at least up to novice. I'd say you might even want to go higher. Now let's look at fighting styles. Basically, these are for different ways you might want to attack. And now I have to decide. I know I want to be a warrior. I kind of have to decide. Um, Now I can do most of these without even spending a shot, but they're going to give me bonuses. So I'm going to have to decide how I want to fight. And what I'm kind of thinking here, do I want to swing something or do I want to use a spear to stab? Um, do I want to be shooting something? Maybe I am. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put one slot on shooting, and that just allows me at least to shoot, because without that, I can't even fire a bow. Um, Grappling, again, I need to be good at grappling, you're going to have to put at least a slot on it, but I can't do everything. So I'm going to go one-handed swinging, and I'm going to go one-handed thrusting. So I'm getting through a lot of slots now. Um, and you can see there, I've already spent 14 slots on the martial category. And that gives me 4 slots left over I can use to um, decide on particular weapons. Now, most of these are pretty self-explanatory. Slinging is using a slingshots, um, which in medieval times they were pretty much a peasant weapon, but in ancient times they were a very important weapon. Um, I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to get unarmed combat, um, shields, and I think this guy wants to use a sword, so I'm going to put a slot on fencing, and I think I've got one left. Let's have a look at weapons. Now, your bonuses come from several things. So a bonus in the weapon class is going to be helpful, but also you can specialize in a particular weapon. For a 0 level character, I don't, I might want to do that. I think for this character, I might want to spend that slot somewhere else instead. So let me go with, say, throwing. Okay, so basically what I've done here, out of 18 slots, the only thing I've made level proficient, which cost me 3 slots, is light armor fighter. Ideally, I'd like to make other ones I'd like to prioritize when I go up in level, might be combat breathing, combat defense, and then when I get enough slots, I want to raise some of these others as well. And okay, so that's all the martial ones. I'm going to collapse that. Now I've got 18 slots I can spend between these ones, so let's just have a look. Thievery, lockpick, pickpocket, sure. Novice pickpocket, psychological. Probably the most interesting one here is confidence trickster. Just gives me a bit more credibility when I'm lying. It's a pretty important one. So let's put 2 in there. Poisoning. You know, for a 0 level character, do I need expertise in poisoning? I might do, depending on, like what kind of thing I'm going for. I think I'd rather spend the slots on these kind of things. Like let's maybe I've got a rough idea about um, forest terrain and mountain terrain. Um, a spelunker is someone who knows his way around underground, so we'll put a slot on that. It really depends on where you're expecting to, what kind of environment you're expecting to spend a lot of time in. Okay, now other fieldcraft skills here. These are all obviously interesting. You know what? I could maybe put a slot on every single one because I've got plenty. So I've spent 8 slots already on this. And then athletic. Some of these are pretty important. So can I swim? I'd like to be able to swim just in case, at least to save my life. Uh, Running. Now, running is something you might potentially do in combat, so that's quite a good one. Likewise, crawling and climbing are potentially things you might want to do in combat. Can I ride a horse? I'd like to be able to ride a horse, maybe. Um, Skater, skier, if depending on the campaign, depending on where you are, that might be really useful. Acrobat, you know, like depends what kind of character you're trying to build. Okay, so I've used 45 slots. So let's I've used 17 on these ones. Now, generic skills. Some of these are very important. So do I want to be able to read and write? Maybe. So let's go reader, yes. Writer, yes. Fire builder, I'd say that's a pretty important one. If you're out traveling around the countryside. Um, Animal handler, maybe. Boatman, maybe. Um, Rope user, if you're on boats and ships, that might be really useful. Weather sensor, getting an idea about what kind of weather you might expect. That takes a lot of experience and knowledge. So we'll put one on there as well. Healer. Now that's a very important one because you're gonna you're gonna need that apart from trying to heal injuries. You're gonna need that in combat. If you get cut in combat, you're gonna have to staunch that bleeding before you bleed to death, and that's not necessarily easy. So let's make that one as high as we can. Now I need to go higher than proficient. I need novice anatomist, novice herbalist. So why not? Let's go and let's go and raise them. Anatomist. I'm going to be a novice anatomist, a novice herbalist, and that should let me increase healer now to skilled. So healing, Uh, Healing is the only skill I've actually reached that level in so far with this character. I've got 12 slots still left. So let's look what else there is. Craftsman. Um, uh, as as a kind of general adventurer, none of these are going to be super important, but I've got slots I can use. So um, let's put a few on things that look promising. A cook, potentially, um, potentially a Fletcher could be useful if I'm going to try and repair or make my own arrows. Um, a sailor potentially. If I'm on a ship, I want to at least be useful. Okay, so like a lot of these, basically, you can only put so many slots on the one you probably care about the most, which is Marshall. And that gives you a lot of other slots left over. So spend them, spend them however it takes your fancy. Armor, yeah, I probably want to be able to look after my own armor. And if that's going to be leather armor, I might want to have a rough idea about being a leather worker as well. Now I've only got 7 slots left. If it's padded armor, maybe like being a having some skills as a tailor might be useful. Um, Swordsmith again. So just to be able to maintain your own gear, you might want to. You might ideally you've got a good knowledge about a lot of these. Okay, so I've got 4 slots left, and I could. Um, what takes my fancy? I think all of these are going to be useful. So I'm just a novice reader. How about I put that up to proficient? And same with writer. And now I've used up all my slots, so I'm going to click accept. Okay, so I've used my slots, and now I'm going to go and assign some gear. Okay, now I'll choose a weapon, and um, if I don't care about money, I'll just grab say a long sword. Um, Now this is maybe a more interesting one. I'm going to choose armor. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click there, and I'm only I'm proficient with light armor, but I've got no skill at all with medium armor or heavy armor. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to filter out everything that's um, free armor or light armor, everything that's not one of these two. Free armor has got no penalties at all. Light armor, well, the penalties for me won't be that bad because firstly, light armor is not so onerous, and secondly, I'm at least proficient with it. And so, what have we got? Um, I kind of think doublet shirt. Why not? I'll take one of them. Um, to protect my body, I was actually thinking, let's let's see what we can do with light armor. So I'll just select light armor. Um, Hardened leather coif. I want something. I want something a bit better. I can actually take a chainmail vest as light armor. It's not going to protect my shoulders, but it's going to protect my torso. So that's great. Um, Now, like with this character, I'm not paying any attention to the value of what I'm buying here, um, for the sake of argument. Now I want some boots. So we're going to go light armor. I want a steel plate skull cap. Um, Something to protect my head, so that would be nice. It doesn't protect all of my head. Um, it doesn't cover my eyes or anything like that. But it's not so onerous, and it's only light armor and it's steel. Can't argue with that. I want something on my feet. So again, let's go light armor. And what it's showing me here is only things I can wear that are compatible with what I've already got, right? So what you'll see, what you won't see here is something covering my torso because um, because this is assigning clothing I'm able to wear. Since I've already got a chainmail vest on, I can't wear something else on my torso unless it sits on top or potentially underneath, except I've already got a doublet shirt underneath. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll get hardened leather high boots. Perfect. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to right click. I think I can't save. Why can't I save? I need a name. Okay, I'm going to call it, I'm going to call this guy Jim. All right, I'm going to save. I can save by clicking on this button there, or I can right click and save. And what I can do now, I'm going to export my character sheet just to have a look at it in a different way. Um, so we're going to click save. Um, and this is going to open up my character sheet in a browser. Very slow laptop this, so we have to be patient. Um, okay, that really is slow. It's trying to open it in Chrome. And one day that'll open. Now, on a decent laptop, this is going to be lightning fast. It's just this is a very old laptop. Okay, so that's my exported character sheet, and it's basically showing the same stuff that we saw in the application, but a bit more. For example, one of the things here which is really useful when I'm building my character, it's showing which parts of my body are covered by which armor. And here we can see unprotected. I've got a lot of my body here is unprotected. I'm kind of thinking it might be good to get some gloves. Yeah, my thighs are unprotected, throat. But what I'm trying to achieve with this character, the idea is he's kind of light and nimble. He's not trying to be like really heavily protected, like maybe a heavy armor user. It's also showing me my skills there. Um, and there's a section here for planning next level. So next level, I'm going to get 8 more slots. And that means I could allocate up to 5 on campaigning, up to 5 on deception, up to 2 on martial. And the reason it's only 2 is because I've already maxed out the martial category. Up to 3 on miscellaneous, up to 8 on vocational, up to 8 on languages. So the 8 slots I'm going to get at next level, which is only 300 experience points, I think. Let's just check that. Yeah, okay. 120 experience points. So it's not a huge amount. So first level isn't far off, and at first level, I'm going to be able to spend my 8 slots in this way. And we can actually get a more detailed report, which we'll have a look at in a minute. There's just some calculations there, which most of this is actually in the application as well. Um, but I don't think this is, so or not yet. It might be later, but it's not currently in the application. So the interesting thing here is you can kind of see how well protected you are and what what might be missing. So, like maybe I want to get some knee pads and gloves and things. I definitely want to get gloves. So that's cool. Let's close that. Um, I'm going to grab some gloves as well. I'm going to go armor type light. Now, I could also look at free armor, right? But the thing about free armor, it's um, it's likely I've already decided I'm going to be using light armor. So light armor is going to be protecting me better than free armor in general. So, so I'm probably going to get light armor. Um, so let's go hardened leather gauntlets. And actually, we'll see what else we can wear if we don't care about cost. Uh, okay, sure, I can get a backpack, so I probably would. Um, leading arm vambrace, so that's basically going to protect your forearms. Hardened leather knee pads. Um, vambrace with Gauter. I think that's probably a good choice. Okay, so let's just save that. And now if we export this again, we'll see that the body's better protected. So the the other interesting thing to look at when we're contemplating going up a level or we're planning how to build our character, let's look at skills planning. And that's going to show us how we can spend our skill slots um, when we gain 1 level, 2 levels, or more. So this all looks familiar. This report shows current level in each skill, how skill slots can be distributed to skills, and what restrictions are blocking individual skills. All existing slots have been allocated, so the report will only show what can be allocated upon leveling up the next 3 levels. Okay, so those are our current skills, and then we're going to go through the categories one by one. So for the athletic category, nothing is blocking us from raising any one of these we want next level. So there's nothing showing for the next 2 or 3 levels. Basically, we can raise each one. And it's the same for campaigning. So currently, all of these we're novice. Currently, all of these we're either novice or unskilled. And terrain, same thing. Now, Spelunker, to become a proficient Spelunker, it's going to take us 2 slots, but um, but in addition to spending 2 slots, we will need to become a novice navigator. Okay, deception. Okay, we didn't allocate anything to them, so it's not surprising. It's going to be just 1 slot to level up with no restrictions. Psychological. Okay, we've got a couple of them are proficient. So upgrading this will be proficient, moving to skilled. That will take 3 slots, and there's no problem doing it. Okay, so let's look at martial. Now, we are, Jim is already a proficient light armor fighter. So to improve this, to become a heavy armor fighter, he'll firstly need, that only takes 1 slot, but he'll also need to become a novice medium armor fighter. Okay, now to upgrade light armor fighter, next level, we need 3 slots to do that, and we're only going to be able to spend 2 slots on martial skills. So it can't be done next level. But next 2 levels, yes, it can, because we'll be able to allocate 4 slots to martial. And then medium armor fighter, no problem if we want to upgrade that from unskilled to novice. That's only 1 slot. Okay, so likewise, these attack styles very similar. Upgrading novice to proficient takes 2 slots. Upgrading unskilled to novice takes just 1 slot. Upgrading interceptor requires novice combat reflexes. Now, we didn't put any slots on combat reflexes, which is this one. Okay, and all these ones can be upgraded next level. Um, Fighting styles, again, everything can be upgraded next level, and that's the same for all of these. All of these weapon classes, I don't think we didn't spend a single slot on any of them. Okay, miscellaneous. This is maybe more interesting. So, healer, already a skilled healer. Upgrading to expert healer takes 4 slots. Okay, so next level, there will be insufficient miscellaneous slots. Um, Next level, we could allocate 3, but we need to allocate 4. Because we've already allocated 17 slots to this category. Next level, we'll be able to allocate 20 slots. Now, the other restrictions next level, in addition to that, would require proficient anatomist and proficient herbologist. In 2 levels, we can do it, but we'll need to become proficient anatomist and proficient herbologist. Um, okay, so the rest of that is kind of self-explanatory. Some of these skills, even to become novice, you need to be novice in something else. So to become a novice shipwright, you need to be a novice carpenter. Likewise, wainwright. To be a novice wainwright, you need to have some carpentry skills. Uh, and in languages, you can just upgrade, no problem. Um, if you can spend the slot. So for English here, expert English level to upgrade, master takes 5 slots. Um, okay, so that's skills planning, and that's my character ready to go. Obviously, I'd if I'm really going to be an adventurer, I'll want more weapons. I want a bow, maybe. I'm going to want some other equipment, but that's just the same as adding weapons. So that's creating a character. Okay,